if the tenants care for the landowners, they will work with them. You can't rent to someone in a month's time and gotta go out there and spend all that money to repair that house. You've gotta know exactly what I'm talking about here, because lumber is expensive. Everything you do is expensive now. I know, you know, I'm constantly going to the lumber yard. So consider that if you would. I just think that we as an American people, as a unit here in our city, we need to be responsible. We need to work together. Yet, we don't need to be punished for something somebody else is doing, as the young man said. I thank you.
Thank you, Charles.
Thank you. Mr. Akins, would you say that your units are all up to code?
Yes.
So really the only thing that you would object to on this is the fee that's being charged?
I object to the whole plan. The whole plan. I just don't see it. As I said, I would close my units down and, you know, and they sat there, no further paid for, so.
I think what you're saying is that you're tired of the intrusiveness of the government, tired that the government is trying to step in and tell you one more thing, kind of like you have to, in my mind, I have to wear my helmet when I ride a motorcycle and things like that. I mean, that goes way into that the government tells us so many things that we have to do, and this is a good example to you, is that correct?
Mr. Councilman, I believe that if a person is going to ride a motorcycle responsibly, they would wear that helmet. And that's the same thing here. If we're going to.
But we shouldn't have to be told by the government.
We shouldn't have to be told.
That's my.
If it comes down to that they are, there will be plans, stipulations, where we can step in and, you know, and be assisted. But,
Thank you.
I just can't.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate your input.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate your input.
Thank you.
Who would like to be next?
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, I'm Joe Bruce. I'm a small landlord. I've got a lot of houses that we're working on, but we don't rent a house until they're finished and they meet our specifications. When we model a house, we probably have 15 people that are waiting, but we only do one house at a time. We try to have good quality housing for people that we rent to. One of the problems that you run into is, in this area, we have people who can't afford housing. Our units, our two-bedroom houses start at $400. It's a heck of a buy. They're nice neighborhoods for the most part. We go in, we put a roof on the house, we put new windows in the house, we put siding on, we rewire the house, we put insulation in the walls, put new floor coverings on, new sheetrock, paint, everything else. Okay, brand new house inside. It takes time to do that. We probably do 2 of them a year. Most of it's not major remodel or anything like that. It's not adding on rooms. It's taking houses that have good bones and working with those to improve. We've improved a couple of neighborhoods dramatically, tearing things down, things that look like they needed to be bulldozed, but were good. We've gone in and rebuilt those and improved the neighborhoods. If you ask some of the renters of the houses we've done over in one building, we've bought 3 properties. We've got 1 house finished. We got the drug dealer out of the house. I completely redid the house. It's a very nice looking house now. When you do something like that, that improves the neighborhood dramatically. You change the mix of people who are in the neighborhood. You get rid of some undesirable aspects by having nice housing. But you try to rent the housing at a reasonable rate that somebody can afford. Here in Kennett, for the most part, if you have a 2-bedroom house and somebody's willing to rent it to you for less than $400 a month, you're probably not very nice house. You probably wouldn't be interested in renting it yourself. The problem that you run into, and I see this every day, I see people calling who need housing. I usually ask them, you know, what kind of price range can you afford as to what housing you have. And when they tell me, they say $250. Not anybody around here can rent a house for $250. I mean, to have them to fix them or something like that, you can't do it. Sometimes you have people who have no money. I've had people come to me that had no money whatsoever. Whenever that happens, I try to help them find something. I call the day out and say, do you have any positions available? I have a lady right now who had no income. She has a master's degree, but she's down on her luck, and she had no place to go. No money, no income. We worked out something the day out. I rented her a house that I actually rented a whole lot more for her, but I reduced the price so she could have a place to live. She's getting to the point now where she can apply for a job. She has a place to live. She doesn't have to live in her car. And that's what some of the landlords are doing. I'm not the only one. We've got landlords around here who are doing good things. And I think one of the problems that you look at is, number one, when you add a cost, and I'm kind of interested to find out what the cost. I heard the rumor was $20. Looks like it's a lot more than I thought. Number one, it's $45 for an inspection. If you don't have your utilities in your name, then you have to pay $30 to have the electricity and utilities hooked up. So now we're up to $75. You know what's going to happen with that? That's going to be added onto the tenant's rent, either as an additional deposit or an increase in the rent. That's the way it happens. When you have expenses, any company, if somebody imposes a tax or some kind of regulation, they pass it on to the consumer. And something like this that has a substantial impact not only affects landlords by the timing. I had a lady today. She's on SSI. She has a disabled child. I have a house that the fellow moved out of, and a nice neighborhood, moved out yesterday, and went in. If I could find tenants like that, I would be thrilled. I think we had to mop part of the kitchen. The rest of the house was ready to move into. I told her, I said, you need to move in today because the city council is meeting tonight, and if you don't get in today, you may not be able to get in until the end of the week. Because I don't know whether they're going to have procedures, I don't know how long it's going to take to get an inspection or anything like that. So if she had, if she hadn't gotten it done and you all passed something, chances are she would have been out of home because she wouldn't have a place to move into. That's something that happens on the spur of the moment. A couple of people from a church came to talk to me about trying to help her get a house, and we did that. So your landlords are doing quite a bit for the city, and remember that the landlords are, you're talking about probably a $15 to $20 million industry in town. I'm a small potato, but there are people that have a couple $1 million, $3 or $4 million in housing. Those people hire people to work on their houses, they hire people to clean the houses, they purchase materials in Kennett. So they're a great driver for the economy in Kennett. And you want to be careful. In the past, we've had problems with taxes. Everybody wants to raise taxes. But the problem we're running into with taxes or anything else, and this is effectively a tax. It's tax on landlords, whatever you call it. Inspection, it's a tax. You're imposing a fee on somebody, and they have to pay it. One of the other things I heard was we're going to make rental property or landlords, we're going to make that a business, and I guess we're going to have to get a business license and pay a fee each year to do that. I think that would be the wrong direction to go. Usually rentals have to do with a contract between the individual. I agree that the city light and water checks the pressure for the gas. You have to have a pressure check. We do pressure checks. Site didn't come out, and we don't charge the tenant for the pressure check. Some people do, but we don't. One of the problems that you run into as well is the publicity that this has gotten over the past year has created some problems. I had to get rid of the tenant. I'll tell you why. And Victor can vouch for this because he's probably dealt with her a lot. Put in a brand new floor furnace in the house. Nice house, 2-bedroom house, 5-room house, utility room, hardwood floors. We remodeled it 3 years ago, and she got in the house, and first year it was fine. When spring came, she decided she didn't want to pay for gas for the floor furnace, didn't want to keep the pilot on, so she turned the pilot off. In November, it started getting cold, and she called and said, by the way, I need you to send somebody over here to turn on the gas for me. I said, ma'am, I'm sorry. If you turned it on, you can have, turned it off, you can have it turned back on, but we don't do that. So she was upset, so she called Victor. You remember her, don't you? She called him complaining that we were not providing adequate housing for her, we weren't providing heating systems and whatnot. Well, anyhow, what the true facts were, he called me, of course, and told me, complained, and said, what about this? I said, well, we want a brand new furnace. We put it in, we did the pressure check, he came out and checked it when she moved in. And I said, she turned it off. If she can turn it off, she can have her boyfriend turn it back on. So she wasn't happy, she's not a happy camper. Well, probably I should have gotten rid of her at that point. Basically, what she's trying to do is get the city to force somebody to do something that they're not allowed to do. Back in April of this year, she called and said the sewer line was clogged. And she said she was having poop come up in her bathtub and her washing machine was overflowing. So I sent somebody over that night to check. It's a problem with the system, we take care of it. He went over, he said, I can't do anything now, I'm gonna have a snake or something to run through it. He said, don't run any water through it tonight. We'll be back first thing in the morning. Next morning, sent two fellows over. They rented a snake to go through the lines. They were there for probably 2/3 of the day, trying to locate the blockage. Whose blockage? It was about the size of a softball. It was a ball of tampons. She had 2 daughters, and they flushed tampons, and tampons have strings, and they become wadded up, and they completely block the sewer. We got that taken care of. I said, man, we're going to deduct that from your deposit because that's something you caused. And in the future, you don't need to be flushing tampons down at the mill. 10 days later, she calls back and says, we're having problems again. I got poop in my bathtub, and so on and so on and so on. I told you before, if you clog them up, you're going to have to pay to have them unclogged. She wasn't happy. She calls Victor again. Tells Victor that it's an unhealthy, unsafe condition. I think Justin handled that one, didn't he? Back and forth, they called me and said, we've already sent somebody out. No, I'm not going to go out and take care of her again. She can go hire somebody to do it. She works, she's got a job. She cleaned the sewer line. So that wasn't happy. Finally, she called, I think, Justin back. Second time, finally, Justin said, well, I'll tell you what. Yeah, it may be an unsanitary condition, but I'll tell you what, if it's not done in a week's time, we're going to condemn the property to the house. With that, she went out and got somebody to come unplug the line. The following week was her rent was due, and of course you know what happened. She came in and said, here's your rent, but I'm holding out the money for having the clog clean. I said, I'm going to play that game. So with that, I told her she was going to have to move. I wasn't going to put up with that anymore. That's the kind of problem. That's what the publicity that has been generated from this. And I'll bet you there are other landlords that are having the same problem. They read in the paper and they think the city council is their advocate. That they're going to come and make landlords do what they want landlords to do. It's not necessarily that we have problems with the houses, but they want somebody to do something above and beyond what landlords are responsible for. The problems that we have as landlords, we look at the city council and feel like that the council is waging a war against landlords. Sounds terrible, doesn't it? The city council waging a war against landlords who are trying to better the community. What makes you believe that as a landlord? Number one, you have an ordinance that says landlords are responsible for providing trash service for tenants. That's nice, isn't it? I'd like to have somebody provide free trash service for me. And if we don't, I guess we get a ticket. I guess that's what the code says anyhow. And then you passed another ordinance. And the ordinance says that if a tenant doesn't mow the grass, then the landlord can be ticketed. Because the tenant doesn't mow the grass. Well, once I rent a house to him, he has a legal right to that property. I have no obligation to go and take care of his house for him. He's responsible for doing it. That's one of your ordinances. After you have a couple of ordinances like this, and then we see this, it's a war. Absolutely, it's a war. The purpose of this, the reason you've got all those details, is not, first of all, you haven't identified a specific problem that you want to resolve. And I think most of the time when you're passing legislation, you need to focus on the specific problem that you want, and then try to figure out the best way to solve that problem. In this case, that hasn't been done. We've come up with a vague thing about public safety or something like that, and you use a shotgun to try to accomplish a goal.
I know that you got support, but I've got to take issue with it.
Well, let me finish.
We have the reason we have property maintenance and building codes in this city is because over time, throughout this country, someone died for lack of control over the environment in which they were in. Smoke detectors and what have you. That's the reason we have adopted a building or a building code and a property maintenance code for this city. It's just to improve the whole environment of the town.
At this point, any time that you have, you go in and you do construction, I mean, there's certain things you can do. You can put up some new sheetrock, you can paint, you can repair a roof, you can do other things. You don't have to have a permit for it. But anybody who has to do major repairs in a house has to come get a permit. You have an opportunity to inspect to make sure things are going right. By the way, all of this is kind of dumped on landlords. Why doesn't the same standard apply to people that own their houses? I can show you some houses here in town that are not fit to live in, but the people own them, and they should be condemned. They should be forced to move out of their own houses because they're not fit to live in.
I understand, I know where one is
I
located,
bet you not think about the same one.
on Walnut Street.
Nope.
So there are two.
Well, and I live on Walnut, maybe you're thinking about my house.
It's not far off.
But one of the problems that you run into, when you see a checklist like this, the purpose of the checklist, when you say putting screens, I've talked to several of you, and about half of the council does not have screens on their windows.
I didn't.
You know why they don't? Because they have central heat and air. And you don't need screens when you do that.
Certainly do. The law still, the
law says-
national law, the national building code says you have to have screens. It's not Kennett.
So far as landlords are concerned, it says that you have to have screens. I guess the idea is to keep out mosquitoes. If you have a tenant and you have a house, which I don't have one, if you have a house that doesn't have central heat or air, you can go and buy some of those expandable screens and put them in so you can open your window and have air. I mean, that's something that the tenant can do. The problem is that a lot of times you don't, some of the things, for example, you have central heat and air, it's not necessary to have.
If you would take this list, sir, and each one of your properties, just go down there and check it yourself.
I don't think anybody in town can pass it.
Oh, I think so, yeah.
Okay.
But if you meet the minimum standard on this, that it's safe electrically, it's safe, the plumbing is good, the things you just talked about in your own facility, the floor is good, you know, it's a safe environment for somebody to live in.
Well, let me ask you,
we don't have
if
an
those
issue.
are the minimum things you have, why do you have about 50 other items on there? The whole purpose of those other items is so that you can target, and I may agree with you, I may agree that some landlords have such bad property that their houses need to be bulldozed down. I know of some that I think fit in that category. It's a shame that the city hadn't bulldozed them a long time ago. We've been very slow in getting rid of condemned houses that are just a haven for rats and other things.
It's
That's
a matter of being able to do it financially.
It's a matter of money.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mr. Bruce, I don't cut you short,
Sure.
but I think the councilor got your viewpoint. I think we've got some other folks in the room that might want to express their viewpoint.
Thank you.
Thank you. Who would like to go next? Thank you, sir.
I'll start off by saying I'm not a public speaker by any means, anybody's means.
Who are you?
My name is Gene Ross. I live here in Kennett, and I have for a long time. I know all of you. What you've heard here, I agree with a lot of it. My main statement is I don't feel like Victor Moe needs to be in my house or in my property. I don't feel like he shouldn't have a right to come in there because somebody moved out. That's not a right that he should have. What he's got the right to do, and one guy that was talking about it, is if I've got a renter in my house and they're not happy with the way that I'm maintaining that house, they can call Victor. Victor can come over and roast me up pretty good. He has. That's the way it should work. I shouldn't have to pay $45 a month every time somebody moves, because I'm telling you what, there's turnstiles in this town. You got people moving, I don't think $200 a month's gonna catch you. You don't have the personnel to do this. And you don't have the money to get the personnel to do it. And you're putting more on me as a landlord. I'm just, there are houses that whenever they come open, you got people that can go in there and lay down with roaches and sleep like a baby. They're here. And they're waiting on a house to open up that's got to go in there and lay down with. I promise you. As far as inspection, the city does it every time. Whenever they turn on the lights, gas and water, they're doing an inspection. I do not see a need for Victor to be in my house. And he's just one step, once he starts walking into my rental property, he's one step away from walking in my house. I don't want him in either one. I asked for a no vote on the thing. Y'all got any questions for me?
I do.
All right,
Same question Mr. Gordon been asked.
all right.
How many properties do you have?
I've got, I believe, 8.
Are they all up to par?
It depends on who's looking.
So the answer is no.
No, it depends on, the answer is it may not be up to par for you. You walk into one of my houses and you say, I wouldn't live here. The next guy that's waiting outside comes in and says, this is great. This is heaven to me. It's a place for him to rent. And even poor people gotta have a place to rent.
But is it a safe place, Gene? That's the question. Are they safe? I mean, not, are they nice? Are they safe?
Okay, it's the same thing I tell about my potential renters. I tell them, I say, I can tell you what I know about this house, but in order to know what's wrong with this house, you're gonna have to live in it. That's when you find out what's what. And when you find it, you call. Because I can go in there, I'm pretty sure that the water heater works, and have any complaints. You know, there are just some things that I can't tell you if it's gonna measure up to the code that Victor has or not. I do know that there's houses in this town without screens. All you gotta do is go out there to that subdivision across from the old Tommy's Drive-In and just do a drive-by. Count the number of screens you see. And as far as ticking screens off and saying, well, we'll write them up, but he'll have to take care of that maybe later. I believe that was the way it was worded.
Are the houses that you rent sanitary?
Some are.
How do you
Depends on-
How do you define sanitary?
Well, how do you define it?
Clean,
Clean?
without infestations of vermin.
Well, in some of them, I got them right now, they're full, because that's people that are living. I cannot dictate.
I know you can't keep people that are living there clean.
No, I
But
can't.
when you rent it to them, when you rent the house initially to someone,
Okay.
is it clean? That's my question.
Okay, here's my answer. My answer is that it's a negotiation process that I go through with every one of my renters. We walk into the house, some of them have walked around, and they look at everything, and I never see them again. So I know I didn't pass. By the same token, I've just got rid of a guy that's lived there for 4 months free. I got a judgment for $2,700. I can take that judgment and use it for fire. Because the judgment is nothing. But you'll get your judgment. But you've lost 4 months of rent. And then you're going in there with, they've trashed it to high heaven. And you got a man out there in the street that says, I want to rent this place. I say, it's full of roaches. I've got problems. These are the problems that I know about. And he says, I'm a partner. I'll fix it. You're amazing how many carpenters we have here. Electricians. They're out there.
So
I can't
in
do-
other words, your answer to my question is, you can't say that your houses are clean and sanitary on the day that you rent them on the average day. Is that correct?
It depends, that's correct.
Okay.
And the reason is because it's a negotiation between me and the man that's gonna rent the house. It's a business, it's my business. Y'all wanna get right in the middle of my business. I don't appreciate it, I don't like it. Got nothing personally against Victor, I don't want him in my house. But he's never come in where I get away without it costing me.
I can understand why, from what you said.
The last time I was in his house, he had a motorcycle in the living room, and that's the truth.
It's been a while.
It hasn't been a while.
It's been a while. But, I mean, that's where I stand with it. I think it's my business, and I think the problems that we have with it, you know, if somebody's in my house and they don't like the house, they've got the option to move. Or call Victor if it's something that's a problem. That's your checks and balances. Let the people that are living there or that have rented it, let them do the calling. Don't charge me $45 every time somebody moves, because they move around like fleas. I ask that all of you vote no on this, because I don't think the city needs to be in my business.
It is a business?
Hmm?
It is a business?
It's the way I make my money. How do you make yours?
Well, I'm retired.
I am too.
You got a,
And
all I was leading to, if it's a business, should you have a merchant's license?
I don't think so. I don't think you charge for them anyway, do you?
No.
I think that's free now, isn't it?
Yes.
But you still could have a license.
Why should I? More paperwork? Y'all haven't got enough money to really go with the city like you say, because you own by your own admission. It's all about the money. If it's all about the money, I'd just soon not give you no more out of my pocket than what I'm giving, because I pay my taxes. I try to do the right thing by people, and I don't appreciate the city getting involved with my business. My business, my business. Yeah. When I'm sitting there doing business with somebody, yeah, that's my business. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Any questions?
Good to see you.
I didn't mean to get long-winded. I wasn't going to. Walter's one to call.
We're dragging this out pretty good. We've got time for about one more.
We'll switch subjects. We only got time for one more. All right, I'm Dr. Chancellor Wayne. As y'all know, that I'm part of the St. Francis Street Committee. And what I'd like to do is dim the lights, borrow your computer and projector, and redo your slide. Because that's exactly what we need to do. His plan, his agenda, go through everything. That's what the street committee for St. Francis and doing everything the stormwater drain guy just talked about. I mean, that's what we gotta go through, start next Tuesday. So I hope you roll up your sleeves, get ready for it, and go through that, because we're gonna be looking at everything. From one aspect for Randy, if you could bring to the meeting those blueprints that you showed us. I don't understand them, but we'd like to take a look at them again, just so to see what starting point you guys had at one point in time. And then also, the thing that I take a look at is, where is our stormwater drainage on St. Francis Street? Because the one thing that I do see around town as a waste of money is under-engineered product. Okay, right now you're redoing the industrial park. Whoever designed that, hey, there's gonna be, 2 foot of concrete out there, whatever it's out there, 3 inches, 5 inches. Whatever engineering firm told the city to do that, we should not work with that city again, because it was in the industrial park. You've got how many ton trucks that drive on that road? Okay, yeah, more than one, 1 ton trucks. So that road was in an industrial park, and it was unengineered because Randy's now having to fix it. All right, so a street that's 15 years old in an industrial park, it was known that's what it was going to be. It was known that's what it was. It should have had the proper base put down. It should have had the right PSI concrete put down. It should have had the right rebar, everything else, so that now we're not wasting city money by having to go back and redo it. That's what he's having to do. So whenever we all meet and start our planning, our project, I would rather this be a little over-engineered than under, because nobody here wants to waste taxpayer money. And so as long as we do our due diligence, come up with an exact plan, just like the stormwater plan that was just put up here, and find out